Will in the chat room says it's sexist to think that women would vote for someone just because that person has a uterus. Amazingly enough, and I tweeted this out yesterday, and I didn't say it on air. Bernie Sanders beat Hillary Clinton with women under the age of 30. It was either by 70% or 80%. I know there's a big difference between those 10 points, but between 70% or 80%, which is unimaginable. It's like women of a certain age don't want anything to do with Hillary Clinton. Now, she had a great spin for that. You might not be for me, but I'm for you. That's a hell of a spin. Right? That's the best thing. She's good with those talking points. But I think it says volumes that it's not a race. It's not about her being a woman for a lot of people, for a lot of women in particular. And you saw that tonight with her playing that card, as far as, she was playing the victim while playing the woman card, right? The gender card. She said, I'm ashamed, how dare you, Senator, imply that me as a woman running for the White House is somehow a part of the establishment. And you know what? People actually applauded that foolishness. She said, I have to say it again. I wish I had the clips. She said that basically, how dare you assert that I'm a part of the establishment? I'm a woman running for the White House. Like, does that make sense to anyone? Does it make sense that is it not possible for a woman to be a part of the establishment? Let's go one step further. Is it not possible for a woman who's running for president to be a part of the establishment? Yes, it is very much possible. But so she tried to do a 2-for-1. She tried to remind everyone that she's a woman running for the White House, for number one, and then number two, that somehow that magically makes her not a part of the establishment. Hillary Clinton is the quintessential establishment candidate. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you want, right? If that's what you want and you believe that's what's best for the country, good for you. But there's a lot of people who believe otherwise. There's a lot of people who believe firmly that the establishment is the problem. And this is the last thing I'm going to say, and I'm getting out of here because I've got to get teeth pulled in the morning. Wisdom teeth got to get pulled in the morning in the middle of a snowstorm. So we have a snowstorm that started at 5 in the morning. Wisdom teeth pulled at 5, and I have phone calls at 4 that I have to do with some clients. So it's going to be a fun day tomorrow. I'll tell you about how it goes. This is the last thing. This is the last thing that I really want to say about this whole conversation. There is this concerted effort to attempt to lecture people who have progressive economic and foreign policy positions as if we are children who are living in fanciful worlds, that believing in the economic policies that framed and created the middle class in the first place, that we are somehow living in a dream world, Mr. Anderson, right? And these are not Republicans who are trying to convince us of this. Mind you, this is not the GOP. These are not conservatives trying to tell us progressives that we are just foolish. These are Democrats who are trying to lecture us about what we believe economically and foreign policy. To me, you are not a progressive if you're socially liberal. That doesn't make you a progressive. You don't get extra credit. You don't get a special achievement award because you believe in women's rights and you believe in marriage equality, right? It's like we don't give people special recognition because they believe in integration anymore, right? That's the starting condition. That's the baseline. Likewise, you don't get this pass to be a socially liberal person and an economically conservative person and then still consider yourself to be a progressive just because you're a social liberal. No, social liberalism is the baseline. You don't get a pat on the back for that. Where do you stand on economic issues? I don't care that Hillary Clinton stands up for women's rights, because if you're a decent human being, you should stand up for human rights. Bernie Sanders stands up for human rights. That's like a litmus test amongst Democrats. They're acting like we shouldn't have a litmus test on economic policy. Hell, we have litmus tests on everything else. If you don't support marriage equality, then you can't even really be a Democrat right now, not in the party itself. So there are litmus tests. We just don't apply it to economic policy. And what's happening right now is that you have the establishment kicking and flailing its legs, trying to keep all of the progressive movement under their thumbs. All the people who believe in progressive economic ideology, and not just the ideologies, but the economic policies that created the middle class. They want to make us feel like we are idiots. We are dreamers. We are utopians. When out of every ideology, out of every economic framework, the progressive economic ideology is the one with the track record for creating and sustaining a middle class, despite the economic conditions around it. Yes, there was economic growth underneath the initial onset of Reaganomics, but once you adjust for the business cycle, you can't statistically significantly say that that was a result of Reaganomics. But if you look at the conditions under which the New Deal was created, and you look at the growth that was stimulated and the middle class that was created from it, you have to attribute it to the New Deal. Investments in the middle class, investments in human capital. And so they're yelling at us as if we are just completely out of our minds and we don't know what we're talking about, and somehow we're children. Also, that they can pull us back and force us to vote against what we believe, and what we believe based on evidence, not just because of a gut feeling. That particular effort, to me, is the biggest problem in the Democratic Party right now. You want the benefit of the progressive caucus, but you don't want to even entertain progressive economic policies. You don't even want to entertain the conversation, let alone the actual policies, right? You don't want to actually move us into a more progressive era. You want to keep us right where Ronald Reagan left us. And all the while, they can't get into office without progressives. And then I hear a lot of people saying, yeah, but Ben, you're going to calling out Hillary Clinton's lack of progressivism is somehow divisive, and that we shouldn't do it because it's divisive. How about Hillary Clinton actually be a progressive? And then there would be nothing to be divisive over. How about her policies? You can't go back and rewrite history. But how about putting up a candidate who actually has shame on us for actually having something that we stand on. Shame on us for actually believing in policies that have been proven. Shame on us for not believing in trickle-down economic theories and Ronald Reaganomics light, when it has been proven to be the bane of the middle class. But no, we shouldn't point out the fact that Hillary Clinton's economic stances and foreign policy stances are not as progressive, not even as progressive. On most days, it's not progressive at all. And again, like I said last night, I don't blame Hillary Clinton, because Hillary Clinton has been straightforward up until now and yesterday, where she's just trying to, she's just saying progressive for the sake of playing, they don't want to lose control over the name progressive, even though they don't want to be progressive. I like this comment here, and I'm getting ready to go to bed. CT Dennis said, it's disingenuous and political posturing when you say you're being divisive during a debate. I mean, that's the whole point of a debate. for us to discuss the things that we disagree on. They want us to just be quiet and fall in line. And I'm trying not to say what I'm getting ready to say, but I guess I'm going to say it since I primed it up, right? That would be the number one thing for me to tell them to go to hell. That would be the number one reason for me to say, y'all just go to hell. Because you cannot twist my arm, mute my mouth, and try to force me to do something out of compulsion versus appealing to what I believe in. You can't make me there. Let's go further. And then I keep saying I'm going to bed, but I got to drive down further because it's this ridiculous. You tell us. Everybody keeps asking Bernie Sanders, what do you define as progressive? No, that's the wrong person to ask. Hillary Clinton, what do you define as progressive? Not your catchphrase, a progressive that gets things done. What things? What are you getting done? What have you actually gotten done? MSNBC, Hardball with Chris Matthews, you tell us, what do you define as progressive? Because I think the problem is, it's not that we don't know what it is, it's that you don't know what it is. And you become so enamored with the success of the status quo in your personal life that you can't even imagine changing it away from what it is right now. And they have absolutely watered down political parties have been watered down to just being your football team, right? What side are you cheering for? And I don't want to even hear about social policies anymore. Like I said, before I even started this conversation, you are not, you don't get a pass because you support marriage equality. That's just basic humanity. You don't get a pass for supporting integration. That's basic humanity. You don't get a pass for supporting a woman's right to choose. That's just basic humanity. And so, yes, I am saying that Republicans are basically inhumane, whatever. But you don't get a pass to be socially, you don't get a pass to be economically conservative just because you're socially liberal. No, that's how we got suckered into moving further and further and further to the right. The question is, who's going to stand up for economic progressive principles? And you know the problem? I don't even think America understands what that would even look like. They can't even really wrap their head around a time when we would invest just as much in people as we do in businesses, where we would, and not even just businesses, as much as we invest in weapons. I don't think people get it. I think it's actually, consider this, put yourself in your own shoes and imagine an America where we dare to invest in people as much as we do the military. And imagine the disruptive nature of that transition. Imagine all the companies that would go kicking and screaming into the night because they no longer get these contracts from the government, these wasteful contracts. And now that money is being transferred and now being spent on human capital. Imagine the moments of chaos that would cause. That is an economic revolution. That's not pretty. That is an actual painful process. And I think most Americans can't wrap their head around transitioning back to a time where we actually invested in people versus just like money.